On this week's show, the Georgia Southern football team ends their spring with their annual blue-white game. We'll take you out for highlights and interviews. We'll also take a look and see how the Georgia Southern baseball team is doing with the midweek series against the colleges Charleston and back to Sunbelt play this weekend. All that and more as we welcome you inside the Eagles Nest. And welcome inside the Eagles Nest. I'm Josh Aubrey, being joined by Mike Anthony, sports editor and Georgia Southern beat writer for the Statesboro Herald. And Mike, wrapped up another spring practice or spring season for the Georgia Southern football team with the blue-white game this past week. Don't ask me about the scores. This modified Stableford system or whatever they were using out there was kind of crazy to keep up with the scores. It was the offense versus the defense, which is the first time that I've seen that happen in quite a while. There were some reasons to be optimistic about the offense and defense, but we were missing a lot of players that I think we'll see more of when the fall comes around. But as for the way the spring went and the game itself, your thoughts?
Well, I think that it's still really early. There's still a lot for this team to install. You mentioned some players sitting out, most notably their top two guys in the backfield in Wesley Fields and Monteo Garrett, neither of them dressing for the game. So saw a lot of the farther down on the depth chart as far as the running backs go. And as Coach Lunsford pointed out after the game, running is the main thing. They threw it a little bit. It was effective at times. I think one big deep ball on the day, but mostly the passing game looked like it was struggling a little bit. But their main focus is getting on hitting the holes, making the holes to run through. This is going to be a run-first team. So overall, the defense certainly ahead of where the offense is right now. I think only a couple of big plays for the offense, but what I did like is the chains moved a little bit more than they did last year, especially once the scrimmage got going a little bit, a couple of early 3-and-outs, but they were moving forward. There weren't nearly as many 2- and 3-yard losses as we saw most of last year. And if this team can put itself in third and short, it can not only keep the chains moving, put some points on the board, but from what I saw of the defense anyways, if you can make them defend short fields and not have to worry about playing from behind, this looks like it could be a defense. It could be a real power for Georgia Southern.
Offensively, didn't really throw the ball except when they tried their 2-minute drill a couple of times, and a lot of their passes were out in the flats, not much down the field, not much outside or inside the numbers rather. So I think, again, they're going to be a little vanilla in the spring, not to give anyone out there who might be relaying what they see to other Sunbelt teams any information, but regardless, there were some moments there offensively and defensively. We had a chance to talk with Coach Lunsford and some of the players after the blue-white game.
I thought it was a good ending to the spring. When you go into a spring game and you do not play teams, you obviously get into a scrimmage situation, so it's offense versus defense. So sometimes it's hard to get in a rhythm, but I think the guys came out and competed, did a really good job. Defensively, I feel like we really started the scrimmage well. I think defense is probably a little bit further along in the spring than our offense, and but the offense did respond later on and then got some good plays there. We're not close right now. We got to continue to work, and it is a process. We knew that going into the spring game, it wasn't going to be a final product. We still got fall camp, and then we got obviously the first game. So we're going to continue to work, and I think our guys are doing a really good job of trying to buy into what we're trying to do. We got to make sure that we play more clean. Sometimes. It's just as important mentally what you do before the snap than what you do in between the whistles. We're going to play fast, we're going to play hard in between the whistles, but we got to make sure that we're ready to roll before that snap and know exactly what our job is. But overall, I think it was a really good spring. I thought the guys did a really good job of coming out to work every day. We know what the expectations here, and these guys understand it. So they're always going to go to work, and they're going to be ready come fall. We just got to make sure we continue to work. Implementing two schemes on offense and defense, I think the growth, I think that is on a upward trend. The other thing is just our positive vibe. I think the guys are really bought into what we want to do, and I know they are. They understand the expectations here, and they know what they've got to do to try to get there. And it's a process, and we're continuing to work. But I think their mind is right. I feel like that they are trying to get it done, and we'll just continue to work to get there. Another positive, and this could be a part of the football team too. I was really impressed by Eagle Nation coming out to the spring game. I thought that was a really good crowd. Our guys did a good job of getting out this week and trying to excite everybody. So just want to make sure I gave a shout out to Eagle Nation for coming out and watching us today. I think right now the biggest piece of what we've got to do is learning how to play clean. I think there's still some, the best way to say this, I think there's still some things from last year that are still in their minds. Like they get, I want to see them more confident. I want them to, play more loose and understand that they got to go out there and play like their hair's on fire. Sometimes I think they get out there and they just, they're worried about, this happened on the last play, and we got to put that stuff away and we got to go play the next play. And I think that a lot of that's just from last year, and I think we're still continuing to get over that. The biggest piece is the mental part and just making sure we stay focused and make sure we come out in the fall and play clean.
Yeah, we started kind of slow. A lot of undisciplined things early on in the spring. They kind of got better throughout the spring. But overall, I feel like it was a good spring. We definitely got better. Picking it up is a lot different than it was last year. A lot of different schemes than we had last year. Picking it up, I feel like I've done a pretty good job. A little inconsistent here and there on my reads, but I feel like it'll get better. With fall camp and stuff, and it just comes with reps. So right now, like I said before, I'm not being complacent where I'm at. I feel like I've picked offense up pretty good this spring, but still got fall camp and of course getting ready for September 1st.
I feel like spring was good. We've been on an uphill path all spring, so as long as we keep staying on that path, we'll be good. I do feel like my role have to be a lot bigger. We honestly need a lot of explosive plays, so just trying to be that guy and get the explosiveness back.
Spring, I give us a B+ right now because, we still learning everything from defense Coach Sloan's scheme. We coming in with 3-4. Last year, we came in with the 4-2 with Coach Zoe, but I feel like we still learning right now. Having guys in your face right now because, with the four down lineman, you don't really have guys in your face that much, but right now you got your D-line slanting a lot. So, just learning how to get off the guys with the offensive line coming in your face a lot. Just speed, working on our speed and technique, really. That's all we can really rely on right now is speed and technique and just being a dog about it.
So now a little off time I guess there won't be an off time. There'll still be
never off time. No days off.
Of course not.
No days off.
Until August, we won't really see too much from the Georgia Southern football team, but they will be working hard, obviously. All right, well, let's head out to the baseball diamond, Mike, where the Georgia Southern baseball team, coming off a tough series on the Sun Belt side of things, come back home on Wednesday or Tuesday rather, and win a midweek game as they prepare for UT Arlington this weekend.
Well, it was nice to see them bounce back with a win after a very tough weekend in Mobile. The weather piping up again. It seems like it's always raining in Mobile, but no excuses there. They both had to play through it, and South Alabama just played a lot better. The biggest strength for the Eagles this year has been the starting pitching. South Alabama able to get to that, and then the Eagle bats, as they have all year, pretty quiet throughout. Now they get a little bit of help back. Austin Thompson, he came back last week. Tyler Martin now. Those two make up a big part of the middle of the order, so maybe they can start to find a few more runs. It's hard to ask the arms to go out there and limit teams to 2 and 3 runs every time out. So if Georgia Southern can get something going here in the back half of the schedule, maybe they can claw back up to a good seed. But after last weekend, they've certainly got their work cut out for them.
Well, the midweek games have been a little bit of a problem, particularly on the pitching mound. Thankfully for the Eagles this week, they did get a great performance on the mound from former Statesboro High Blue Devil Braxton Johns. We have a chance to get some highlights. Let's go out and see how things went. Georgia Southern stepping outside conference play, hosting College of Charleston. The Eagles start the scoring in the first inning. Austin Thompson will single into center. Jason Swan comes in to score, and it's 1-0 Eagles. To the second, up 2-0, and Swan, the hot shot to third. Mitchell Golden comes in to score, and it's 3-0 Georgia Southern. The Eagles unable to do any more damage as The Cougars able to shut them down. In the third, on the mound for the Eagles, Statesboro's own Braxton Johns getting his first start, and he'd come through with an excellent outing, 6 shutout innings and 3 strikeouts. He gets some defensive help. Mason McWhorter, the sliding grab in left. The Eagles add a few more in the 6th inning. Nolan Tressler, the batter, and he singles to center, which will plate Charlotte Conley, and then up 5-0. It's Jason Swan, the RBI single to center, and the Eagles go on to take this one by a final count of 6-4. So as we mentioned in the opening, next up for Georgia Southern, back to Sunbelt play. Hopefully they can get back on track as they have UT Arlington in for a Friday evening, then a Saturday and Sunday afternoon matchups. All right, Mike, before we go, softball and golf. We also have the women's golf who finished third, I guess, in the Sunbelt tournament as the guys get ready to get things underway this weekend.
Yeah, the women's squad, a strong showing. They won't be getting any at-larges into the NCAA regionals, but after a good start to the year and then some struggles as it went along, a good way to end the year. And I've seen who they have coming in. Got to see a lot of them at the junior championships hosted out at the Georgia Southern course last summer. Ran into a couple of Eagle recruits. It definitely seems like they've got a lot of talent coming in. This is a program that I would think will continue to be on the rise. And then as for the men, they've got some work to do. If they win the Sunbelt tournament, they'll of course get an automatic bid into the regionals. But if not, I would think that they'll have to definitely make it to the match play portion on the final day. It would probably take a very strong showing in the stroke play form, and then maybe get into the finals if they want to be considered for an at-large bid. But this is a team that at times has looked like a top 30, top 40 team in the country. They just have to hope that it shows up over the weekend and into next week down in Destin.
All right, and as for the softball team, the long second half of the season continues for Georgia Southern as they drop 2 of 3 with Arlington, and now looks like as the Sunbelt tournament is approaching, it's Lafayette.
Yeah, it's for as great as they started out, they seem to have run out of gas a little bit. A couple of injuries popping up, especially in the pitcher's circle, which is the one place that no softball team can afford to go down at this point of the year. And that Sunbelt losing streak had crept all the way up to 7. They finally get a win in the middle of last weekend's series against UT Arlington, but for a team that's still struggling, still trying to find a way to eke out some wins here with the injuries mounting. You said it, Louisiana Lafayette, they're as good as it gets, not just in the Sun Belt, but anywhere in the nation. So they've got a trip out there to Cajun country. You would think that even salvaging one win, not to put the expectations too low, but getting out of there with anything other than a sweep would have to maybe raise the hopes a little bit and give them at least some confidence, no matter who they play down the road in the tournament, that anything can happen.
All right, well, that'll wrap things up for now. For Mike Anthony, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.